Hi, Stories Channel here.
The movie starts with a 12-and-a-half-year-old boy named Renato who lives with his parents in Castelsudo, Italy. The schoolboys run around. Men and women, everyone has one thing or the other they are doing. Government officials announce that there will be an important announcement on the radio by Mussolini, urging everybody to stay tuned to their radio at that particular time of the announcement. Mussolini announces war on France and Great Britain. 12-year-old Renato gets a new bicycle courtesy of his father, who doesn't seem to find it convenient to buy a new bicycle in the face of war. Renato is happy for his new bicycle and speeds off with no care in the world, to go meet with his peers of bicycle owners who now think him mature enough to join their gang of worthy boys of sneaky bicycle owners. The gang has a routine of waiting out for the woman named Malèna, as they consider her the most beautiful woman in Castelsudo for the simple reason of watching her walk past. They notice her coming and every one of the boys pays adequate attention while she walks. None wants to miss a bit of her as they watch her with pleasure, savoring every bit of the moment. Renato, who finds all of this weird, finds out to his amazement that he can't stop himself from getting attracted to this lady. To these boys, Malèna is also an object for making jokes. Renato can't stop thinking and fantasizing about Malèna even when he's in class. He defends her when the boys make a joke of her. One of the boys tells a fake story of his encounter with Malèna where she pretended to want to send him to buy her some cigarettes but had plans to lure him into her bed, but he refused. Up next, Renato is fantasizing the same scenario with himself while self-pleasuring. Renato's infatuation for Malèna gets him into trouble with his father as he steals his father's trousers and takes them to the tailor to be amended to his own size, all because he wants to feel old enough to have Malèna. His father beats him for the trouser. Renato sneaks out to peep at Malèna at her house and sees a family picture of her with a man hanging on the wall. He doesn't seem to like the fact that Malèna is married. In Castelsudo, it is almost a crime for a young beautiful woman to live alone. Malèna falls in this category of the beautiful woman living alone, and she is judged harshly for it. Her husband, Nino, had brought her and her father over from the village, and then he had been called to war, leaving Malèna living all by herself. Everyone thinks she is sleeping around. Renato takes it upon himself to find out the truth. He peeps at her at will, as well as gets aroused by her sexy body in the process. He loves everything about her, including the music she listens to. He fantasizes about making out with her in his room. Then we see that Renato spends his time at the poolside writing many love letters he addresses to Malèna, but he is not courageous enough to send any to her as he throws everything at the waterside and they are swept away by the water. Renato follows Malèna on his bicycle everywhere she goes as he excuses himself from the gang. His mind plays a trick on him again, seeing himself with Malèna as husband and wife and suspecting that Malèna is cheating on him as he gives her a hot slap. Then, Renato's bicycle is needing some grease from constantly running about trying to catch up with Malèna. Then, it is shown that Malèna walks on the road. Heads turn and gossip mongers make her their topic. Renato can't stop himself from following her, but all this goes unnoticed to her. Renato stalks Malèna to an apartment he suspects to be her boyfriend's and finds out to his relief that it is her father's apartment. Then, Renato gets wind of the news of Malèna's husband, Nino's death. Castelsudo authority confirms and announces the death of Nino as he has been presumed to be killed in the war in northern Africa. Malèna is not there at the announcement ground as her heart is grieving too much to even stand. Renato peeps at grieving Malèna, who is lying on her bed and crying her heart out. He feels like going over to comfort her. Renato thinks that rumors and gossip about Malèna are false and pathetic, therefore they all deserve a little punishment for their ignorance, so he goes about serving them some mischievous treatment. He spits inside the drink of one and pees on another's property. To another, he breaks their glass with a stone. The gossip about Malèna is giving Renato so much concern that he takes it to church and asks God to protect Malèna from the community. Then we see that Renato's obsession with Malèna drives him to steal Malèna's underwear to get pleasure with it in his room at night, getting himself into trouble with his father yet again as his father catches him in the act and thinks that what he is doing is a sin. He accuses Renato of fetishism and beats him up, and Renato refuses to eat for 3 days out of anger. Afterward, Malèna's father receives a letter saying that Malèna is sleeping with the whole town, which is a lie. With the whole issue of allegations against her, Malèna now becomes the talk of the town more than ever, to the point of her case being taken to court. Fortunately, she wins the case with the help of her lawyer, who asks for her body in return, and Malèna cannot give that which he asks for unless by force. Renato watches secretly from a tree as the lawyer tries to force Malèna. In the heat of it all, the tree branch from where Renato watches secretly breaks off, causing him to break a leg. Renato writes a letter in the class to Malèna instead of studying like his classmates. He sees nothing else but Malèna. He looks at his teacher's face and it is Malèna he sees, to the point of asking her a question he means for Malèna, which gets the teacher infuriated and she orders him to get out of the class. All of this happens without Malèna as much as having an idea of who Renato is or if someone like him exists. Renato walks past Malèna hoping he will recognize him and the love burning inside of him for her, but Malèna has no idea of any of these. As if something needs to remind the community members that Malèna is the least of their problems, and the war is what they should be focusing on, the enemies strike, throwing bombs here and there, burning properties and humans. Families of the unlucky victims cry and mourn their dead. As if misfortune and the war have not dealt with Malèna well enough, Malèna's father is one of the victims killed in this ugly episode. Malèna cannot grieve enough as she was still mourning her husband, and now her father. The community members pay their condolences to Malèna, and when it is Renato's turn to tell her to take heart in the death of her father, he is shoved aside by a man next to him who thinks Renato is only but a kid who knows nothing about what is going on. Renato considers this a beautiful chance to finally say something to Malèna, and this man comes out of the blues and ruins his chances. After that, Renato is peeping at Malèna in her house as she cuts her hair with anguish written all over her face. As a widow and the impact of the war, Malèna is silently suffering, with no food to eat on a daily basis. No one will sell to her. She has no choice but to sell her body just so she can have food on the table to eat. With her hair cut and dyed to golden color, Malèna walks out looking different and more beautiful. The women are jealous and talk down on her. The men, despite their gossip against her, run to her beck and call, almost worshipping the ground she walks on. Renato knows that Malèna needs a man she can lean on and he wants to be that man for her. Malèna is seen in the company of another single beautiful lady called Diana, and the community makes all sorts of allegations against them about sleeping around. Renato is thinking about this possibility and putting himself in the picture as the other man. His head can no longer carry the thought of having Malèna sleep around as he collapses while thinking about it. His parents take him to the church and the reverend blames his case on being possessed by an evil spirit, and they start a healing process for him which doesn't seem to work as his mind goes back to playing tricks on him almost immediately. In the next scene, the community women take their suspicion and jealousy to another level as they combine efforts and beat Malèna to a pulp and cut her hair as well. Renato watches helplessly as Malèna cries her heart out. Malèna knows at this point that the town has nothing to offer her, and she decides it is time to leave. Renato watches her in pain as she boards the train to Messina. Malèna leaves all alone with no one to say goodbye to. With Malèna gone, Renato feels lonely and broken. Then we see that a car arrives and a man alights from it whom everybody recognizes as Nino, Malèna's husband. They are shocked to see him back after all the news of his death. Nobody has the courage to tell him about all the allegations they level against his wife, Malèna. All they do is look at him maliciously and mutter some words as he walks past them. Renato follows after him. Nino gets to his house and finds other occupants living there. His house has been turned into a refugee camp. He asks why they are there and they tell him it's their home. An amazed Nino argues that it is his and his wife's home. He asks after his wife and is told that they did not meet anyone there. No one knows Malèna's whereabouts. Renato watches by the side and wishes he has the chance to give this man the answers that he seeks. Nino reports the disappearance of his wife to the police, asking them to help him find her and bring her back home. He was not dead as everybody thought. He only sustained an injury during an attack and lost one hand. Renato still follows Nino around without Nino's knowledge, waiting for the perfect time to tell him all he knows about his wife. Nino meets the wrong group to inquire of his wife's whereabouts and they tell him what he doesn't want to hear. He gets furious and they fight with him, pushing him down. They leave and Renato rushes to his side and helps him sit up. Nino now has a letter from Renato who explains the truth about Malèna in the letter. The letter explains that Malèna has never been like anything they accuse her of. She is a faithful wife who loves only her husband. Nino then sets out to go meet his wife at Messina. 1 year later, Nino and Malèna come back to town and they receive so much attention from the men and women, even boys, just as Malèna used to receive the attention from her gossips. Renato still feels he should be the one walking side by side with Malèna as her husband watches them with a bit of sadness on his face. It seems that the gossip has not stopped as there are side talks from the market women as Malèna walks into the market looking to buy some food items and hoping they sell to her. No one talks to her until she says, "Good morning," to a woman. and then everyone becomes receptive to her and wants to sell to her contrary to what she was used to. Her life is gradually coming back because she's now living with her husband. Renato's obsession with Malèna isn't going away as he follows her all around the market and looks like he wants an opportunity to say something to her. That opportunity presents itself as Malèna's food bag tears and some of the items in it fall off. Seeing that, Renato drives his bicycle as fast as he can to lend a helping hand. He helps her pick up the stuff and Malèna thanks him and continues to walk on. From a distance, Renato wishes her good luck. She looks back at him and nods to that and walks on. Renato drives off with his bicycle after having one last complete satisfying look at Malèna and the movie ends here.